save it from Coach and then open up for questions.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Yeah, a little chilly, nice and snowy. It's pretty, though. Had to shovel my driveway for the first time this morning. Made the mistake of showering before I shoveled, and had to go re-shower after I shoveled because I was sweating my butt off. But it's pretty, and just happy to keep playing and moving forward, and a new week, and a new opponent to prepare for, to get ready for Houston. But a good week and a bounce back last Saturday at UCF after that disappointing loss in Ames that I thought we kind of let slip out of our hands. So, but I like the response from our group. I like the second half response in particular in that third quarter. I thought we played pretty well, and Quinterly got going. Of course, got her 1,000th point, but we just needed her to take over a little bit, and she did that. And so then we got home, and now we regroup a little bit and get ready for Houston, who I'm somewhat familiar with. We've played them a couple times, and when I was at SFA, played them 2 years ago, and then the year before that as well. So got some familiarity with Houston and their roster. Yeah, so far we're in a pretty good spot, and just keep getting better if we can.
I'm looking at Houston, and I don't know if I've ever seen this before. They have more seniors than you have available players.
They do. I think they have 11, right? 11 seniors. Yeah,
that's a crazy number.
It is, and I mean they've got I think a couple 6-year kids. I want to say that have been there for quite a while. So, yeah, a lot of their roster we're familiar with. Recruited some of those kids way back in the day. Some have been at Houston for a while. Some have transferred in. But yeah, I don't remember their whole roster, but I did see something the other day on a graphic that they had 11 seniors or graduate players, and yeah, we don't have 11 available players.
Blair, what is she doing that's good? And I know they've been playing well of late.
Yeah, they are. They've won 2 in a row. Layla Blair's a really good player on especially on the offensive side. The kid can just score really at all 3 levels. She plays with ultimate confidence, plays at her speed. It's hard to get her sped up. Step back threes in transition, mid-range. She can get to the rim, shoots a ton of free throws. I think if you notice the stats, she gets to the free throw line quite a bit. So, yeah, again, the kid that's got our full attention. It's like every night, though. Every time you pull out the stat sheet right now, it's somebody's a very talented offensive player. And so you just got to start scheming around it and try to figure out how to slow those kids down.
What do you think? Your high-volume threes looks like they take a lot to try to make a lot.
Yeah, I mean, they're similar to us on the defensive end because they turn people over so much. So, they'll press and get after you. They'll work hard and deny you in the half court. Quite a bit. So I can't remember what it is. They're 5th or 6th in the country in steals or turnovers forced. We're 1 or 2. So really create a lot of havoc with their defense. They've always kind of done that. And as when we've played them in the past, those were, we played a similar way too. So we've had those nice battles back and forth.
A lot of familiarity.
Yeah.
The back-to-back losses, you guys shot the 3 ball more than you have in any other game this season in those 2 games. Is that a thing where you guys are playing from behind and you're just trying to catch up quickly, or why do you think that is, and do you play better when you're not shooting?
Yeah, no, that wasn't the game plan either. Texas probably a little bit because of their size. It was a little bit difficult to maybe get where we wanted to go to. Iowa State played us zone. First half, we made a bunch of threes and felt really good, and then still got a ton of open threes in the second half, but that's probably what they were wanting us to do and playing percentages to a certain degree. But no, we fell in love with it way too much, and that hasn't been us, and we lost both of those games, so maybe eye-opening there, like maybe we should stop doing that and try to do some other things, which I thought we did a much better job at UCF, and I think we took that number down to, I want to say it was maybe 17 threes or something like that in that game, and so that got a little more manageable for us, and we found different ways to score.
Follow-up to that, did you feel that you guys were taking what the defense was giving you in a sense against Iowa State, or players settling for threes in those situations?
Yeah, well, at times a little bit of both. Early on I thought we had good ones. They were coming from the inside out. Those are the ones we talk about that we want. When you grow up practicing or you put the shooting gun, the ball always comes back to you from underneath the basket. So that's the rhythm that you typically shoot with. And so we really want to be cognizant of getting threes from the inside out. Offensive rebound, kick-out threes are great because they typically come from inside, and that's what you practice. And I thought we did that really well against Iowa State in the first half and then not so much in the second half. But they were very deliberately trying to keep us out of the paint and packing the paint quite a bit.
Not just from the games that you've played, but just what you've seen overall. What have you learned about the Big 12 through 5 games?
Yeah, well, probably what I thought it was going to be. I keep using the word the gauntlet, but it's just it's relentless. It's it's a battle every single night, and there's talent and there's size and there's skill, and each team's a little different. Some are a little more athletic, some have a little more skill, but all in all, I think it's those things, and you get exposed, I guess, a little bit easier, quicker, when you're playing the Big 12. And so things that I thought we weren't necessarily good at, they, like rebounding, all of a sudden we kind of held our own in the non-conference, but now rebounding at that Achilles heel that we thought was going to be an issue is rearing its ugly head, and we've got to get that figured out. And we have relied probably on times of just turning teams over, and we knew when we got to the Big 12 we wouldn't turn them over at that same rate, so we've got to be a little better in the half court. So those are the things I think that we already knew. They're just they're pretty glaring right now.
I was watching the Central Florida game on TV, and I may be making something out of this that's not there, but noticed it with JJ, with officials. Do you think she's getting the respect from the officials? Seems like she gets beat on a lot, and they call some things, but they don't call other things. Do you sense any of that from what you've seen so far this year?
Better be a little careful here. Yes, I guess maybe I should go this way. Is a foul on JJ because of the smaller body, right? It doesn't take as much contact to affect JJ or a Jordan, the smaller kid, than it does a stronger guard. Right. And I think that's where I've tried to get the officials to understand that it's different. And I know y'all want to let us play, and contact on some kids doesn't maybe mean as big of it, as much. But on a JJ or a Jordan, that little contact is significant because of their size, and they shouldn't be getting punished because of their size or their stature. That's not fair. And so that's, I guess, kind of been my complaint. If I go politically correct here, that's what I would really like them to kind of focus on, is that a little bit of contact for her is actually quite a bit. And, and that's not fair to the kid. You can't punish her for her size.
I just see some frustration from her. And is that something you have to kind of work with her a little bit and help her get through? Because she's getting beat on a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. She's been okay in that area. Now, she's fouled too much. That's, if we're talking about fouls in JJ, we go to the other end more than we go to the offensive end. She's got to stay out of foul trouble for us. And she's getting some silly fouls that are just, we don't have a ton of depth, and when she's getting 2 fouls 30 seconds into the second quarter, now we got some serious decisions that we have to make. And do you sit her with 2? Is 2 foul trouble? And it's not really foul trouble, but she's got to prove to us that she can play with 2. And so far she hasn't really proven that she can play with foul troubles, throughout the season. So we're trying to work on that with JJ a little bit. But yeah, on the offensive end, I've been frustrated at times with the officiating and maybe the way it's called.
Able to use the same starting lineup all 16 games. How valuable is that continuity? Is a little bit of a surprise that you've been able to put everybody out there in every game?
Yeah, yes and no. It's I think as a coach, I want to sustain it if we can. I don't really lineups and roles being up and down and all over the place, and these kids not knowing what to expect each night. And so we worked pretty hard early to see if we could establish who the better group was. And we've thought about it. We talk about it quite a bit. Is this the best group? Do they play the best together? We have some of the lineup analytics that we can look at, and that group's really just kind of been the best. It's not a perfect from a rotation standpoint, but it's worked for us up to date. And at this point, until somebody either gets hurt, injury, or just starts playing really well, we'll probably keep rolling with it and let the roles kind of, they've been defined, so we'll just keep rolling with them.
Houston is sending opponents to the line as pretty much anyone in the Big 12. How do you feel about your team in the game if you got to shoot 35, 40 free throws?
Yeah, well, I think we're confident. I think we've started to shoot it a little bit better as the years, the season's gone on. Early on, we weren't very good at all. But again, it's getting the right people to the free throw line. And then, if we can get the right people there, then we feel really good. And they do foul a little bit, but it's just part of their aggressive nature and what they do. But yeah, we need to get back to the free throw line. Those couple games that we were shooting threes, of course, you're not going to get to the free throw line a whole lot when you're staying outside the 3-point line. So again, part of the mindset of just being aggressive, and if that leads to free throws, we'll be okay.
As a coach, how do you approach? You're primarily a jump shooting team. That's how you guys score a lot. Obviously, you want to score from turnovers. When you're not making shots, how do you get them through that?
Well, you just find different ways. I can call certain things to force the issue a little bit. We can talk through that we're just settling, and so we keep that, so we know exactly. Like they'll tell me, hey, we've 5 straight shots, there hadn't been a paint touch, or we've got 5 straight threes. So we're letting them know, hey, like no more threes until there's a paint touch. It's, transition so we can get out and get the paint touch. So there's different ways. We can change lineups a little bit too. So, I don't mind being a jump shooting team as long as we're still getting those touches in the right spot. That's the problem for me is when we become perimeter oriented without that touch, then that's not great offense. And so anyway, we can go bigger. We can put some different kids that like to maybe score with their back to the basket in there to alleviate a little bit of that. So just really kind of trying to continue to be better in the half court, which is what we have to be though. We got to be a little bit better in the half court.
And I noticed Danielle was getting an increased role. Are you pleased with where she's come? And it seems like she does more than. She's a great screener. She maybe not get the rebound, but she can block out the person so somebody else can get it. Are there a lot of things that you're seeing from her that you were maybe surprised a little bit?
Yeah, and we knew that when she first got here, we knew there was going to be a little bit of work to do coming from the junior college, and she'd never had the resources and the strength coach and those types of things. So we had a little work to do, but to Danelle's credit, she's done a great job and come a long way. And we knew once we got to Big 12 play, we were going to have that size on the inside. And you're right, that's what it is. It's maybe not always a point production thing, but take up space so somebody else may get the rebound even if she doesn't get the rebound. It's a big body that we can typically throw it to. Times she may not be as aggressive as we want her to be even to go try to score. But she's a pretty good passer out of the post. And again, when you throw it inside, all the eyes go that direction. And so now a lot of times teams are losing sight of their player because you naturally want to look at the ball, which is now lower. And so you turn your head to your player. So just trying to get her those touches. But she's our most vocal kid too, probably, and when you're playing kind of the back line of our press or, on defense, she's typically the closest person to the rim, so she sees everything in front of her. So we need, that voice, and she understands. She's a smart kid. She's very IQ, full of personality. So no, she's getting a little bit more opportunity. Tears of being out too, though, is allowed, a lot of people to get a little bit. Kylie Blackston's take advantage of her opportunity here lately, and she started to play as good as she's played all year. So I think some of them are just taking advantage of it.
Talked about interior passing earlier about kickouts, but it seems like you've got bigs that really are good passers. Do you agree with that, first of all? Like, that comes to mind when I think about Danelle and how much you guys practice the interior to interior passing.
Yeah, we do practice it, maybe not as much, honestly, as we should, and we turned it over a little against UCF trying to make some of those passes. I've said all year, we have willing passers. I don't know that we're a great passing team, but we're willing to pass, and that's what they've bought into, and that's what I really wanted them to understand when I got here was we'll become a better passing team, but we're willing to pass most of the time, and as long as we're willing to pass, then I feel really good because I think that's the way you're supposed to play the game. Yeah.
Mark, going back to when you were hired, how confident were you that you could keep the returning group of 6 players, or were there some points where you maybe were not terribly confident that group of returners would stay?
Yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, I knew there was a group of 6. Everybody kind of talked about that. The administration had told me there was 6 that were still here, were not in the portal, thought they were going to come back. And then it was just the get-to-know process. But once the get-to-know process started, no, I don't know that I ever really thought. I thought we were in pretty good shape at that point, and nothing led me to believe that they wouldn't kind of hold true to what they were telling everybody else before I even got here, that they were committed to the program and loved being here and loved being a part of the program, and were, I think, excited too when I got the job because of the style of play. They were excited about that, and it fit what they wanted to do.
Curious, you're, I guess, halfway through the season, but you're getting into the Big 12 play. Now that you've had a chance to kind of evaluate and see where you are, what do you need moving forward? Just I guess, near term.
Yeah, depth, I think, is really what comes to mind. And I had a Big 12 coach tell me early on, like, the difference in the top 10 or 15 teams in the country, and then that next middle pack was just the depth. That the first 5, are you're fine, but it's when, those top 10 kids are bringing in another 4 or 5-star recruit or McDonald's All-American or whatever, then that's when the difference typically you see it. And I think that I kind of remembered that, put that in the back of my brain, and quickly I've learned that, I think that's pretty accurate, and so it's just continuing, and the kids we have are fine. Like, we have depth, like, that's not a problem, but we need more, like in practice we had 9 players yesterday. Like, that ain't it, we got to be a little bit better than that. And so we've got to build it and get depth and get healthy, which some of we've had some injuries, and so that's affected our depth. But yeah, just continuing to grow depth and get kids that will stay in the program, that always helps. Then they understand, they're older, they're more mature, they understand the expectation, and we're not all quite there yet. And that's okay. It's year one.
Type of player, I'm sure, obviously size is something that you want to bring into this. Is there any particular players or maybe do you like versatile players? Do you try to get players that are 2-1, that type of thing?
Sure, yeah. No, versatility is a coach's dream. You can move them around, play them wherever you want. So interior size for sure. Some more length on the wing would be nice, but continue to be, I like above average athleticism for sure with above average skill. If you can find those two things and do it at all the positions, then now you become really, really hard to guard. And, so it sounds kind of funny, but if every kid can dribble, pass, and shoot, but seriously, like if you can dribble, pass, or shoot, like at all 5 positions, you're really hard to guard. And then really if you can score at 2 of the 3 levels, 3 and rim or mid-range, then now you've got something to really build off of. So when we really break it down, that's where we go, right? Above average length, above average athleticism, and then can you literally dribble, pass, and shoot? Most kids can't do all 3 of those, right? And then can you really score at 2 of the 3 levels? But I want a post player that can at least score at 2 of the 3 levels. If they could score at all 3 levels, then that's a 5-star big-time player, right? Some point guards only get to the rim and shoot at mid-range. Maybe they don't shoot the 3, right? And so really just trying to find kids that can score at multiple levels because you're hard to guard.
I saw something, I think LaMarcus Aldridge maybe said this. He said he scored 20,000 points in the NBA with 3 moves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's some value to what he's saying there, right? It's like, do what you can do, don't do what you can't do, right?
Yeah, no, without a question. And I think if, he was a mid-range guy with a little bit of post game, but, post players that play back to basket, if you have one move and you can do it to both shoulders, you just created 2 moves. And you add one more move to it, well, now you just got 4 moves, right? And that's not asking a lot, but a lot of kids only go over one shoulder. Most righties want to go over their left shoulder, so they don't want to go over the right shoulder. But if you can play both, now the scout's harder. It's harder to figure out which direction, obviously, you're going to go. And then if you have a counter to that, it becomes really difficult. And that was 2 moves. You just did it to 2 shoulders, which became 4 all of a sudden. So, same thing with guards. A lot of kids, and especially the better athletes, when they grow up, if they're right-handed, they're so athletic, why do they never put the ball in their left hand? Even if you make me go left, I'm faster than you going still with my right hand. I'll still beat you to the rim with my right hand. Well, then they get to college and athleticism starts to match, and all of a sudden they can't go left, as well as they do right, or maybe it's the other way around. So, yeah, just it's that versatility that you asked about, and those are the things that we want to recruit to. But, dribble, pass, shoot, baby. If you can dribble, pass, shoot, I'm interested.
Just to quickly clarify something, first time that you shoveled snow in Morgantown or in your life?
Oh, no, in Morgantown. No, I lived in Montana for 4 years and Colorado for 7. So we've had plenty of those days. But this was the first time. Like, I had probably 3 or 4 inches in my driveway this morning. So, yeah, it was still coming down. That's the worst feeling, though, I think, when you're shoveling snow while it's still snowing. By the time I got done, it's like I needed to start, almost all my cool-looking lines and everything were all covered back up. It just didn't look nearly as cool as it did when I got started, but it's still pretty. And then I sent the message to my son to get his butt up later on, so I do. They weren't in school, so I let him sleep today, but I did send him the message this morning saying, hey, I think they have practice here coming up. I was like, make sure you get out there and shovel that driveway for your mom before she has to leave. So we'll see if you followed through or not. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.